Hi, everybody. My name is Cody Taylor. I'm the Assistant Director of Chapter Services for ZBT, and we're going to be talking through the journey tonight and specifically going through what it looks like to do the journey virtually. I'm joined with Christina Parle to help me out. Christina, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christina Parle. I'm the Director of Chapter Services and Conduct for Zeta Beta Tau, and we're excited to be here with you all.
Awesome. Thank you. So as a quick overview of what the journey is, ZBT obviously is a non-pledging inclusive Jewish fraternity. The journey within ZBT is a continual 4-year educational program. It's something that involves all brothers, and that all brothers should participate. The journey can be customizable. However, any changes you wish to make need to just be discussed and approved with your chapter liaison. So moving into the first component of the journey is Brotherhood Orientation. This is completed within a week of initiation. Typically, we recommend that it's 4 to 6 hours in length. Topics include the introduction, who we are, how we operate, and then further explaining the journey process within ZBT, as well as discussing miscellaneous items, chapter, local history, and reviewing local governing documents. We're going to go a little bit in depth on how to do the Brotherhood orientation virtually. We understand that the 4 to 6 hour length is a lot and not really something that you can really fit into one Zoom call, and we don't really recommend doing that. That would be kind of counterproductive to the process of the Brotherhood orientation. So we have a few ideas on how to kind of split up the Brotherhood orientation to do it virtually. So this is one of the ones that is pretty easy to kind of switch virtually. It can be done via a Zoom call. You can share the Brotherhood orientation PowerPoint slides just on a Zoom call, similarly as to what we're doing right now. Some of the activities might have to be tweaked a little bit. Just remember that all of those kind of modifications just have to be approved by your staff liaison.
I think one important piece to add, of course, is that you might have access to Zoom via your college or university. However, if you don't, ZBT can also offer you our Zoom account to be able to host the Brotherhood orientation on. And so if you don't have access to some kind of platform to be able to run this program, please also reach out to your staff liaison and we can get you connected.
Definitely. Thank you. So kind of to dive into some of the components of the Brotherhood orientation, or sections, activities, whatever you'd like to call them. Basically, instead of giving the Brotherhood orientation workbook printed out, you can just share that to all participants via PDF, as opposed to it being printed out into a physical workbook. Some of the activities that we've kind of thought about tweaking a little bit that would typically be done in person, but still can be done via Zoom. Obviously, the crest drawing activity. This can be done via breakout rooms. It was done sitting back to back in person, but this can be done via breakout rooms where you can kind of explain the crest and still kind of draw it out without that visual component of seeing it. The 6 precepts gallery can be done with small groups via breakout room. You can regroup as a whole group and share what was discussed in those breakout rooms, but obviously it is a little bit different. You're unable to walk around a room and talk through all the 6 precepts physically, but you can still do that via breakout room. The mission and credo discussion can similarly be done in a breakout room. That's a lot of our recommendation is moving into a breakout room, but it works. You can do, and then you just do the group assignment together in that breakout room. The ZBT history outline also can be done in a breakout room, just in pairs. So you'll need to kind of create multiple breakout rooms for pairs for the new brothers to outline the history outline. And then the Brotherhood of Equals activity can be done utilizing a shared Google Doc. This was done with Post-it notes if it were to be done physically in person, but I think the Google Doc thing works a little bit better in that kind of virtual space, so that people are able to share their thoughts, similarly to posting a post-it note on a board that everybody looks at. But this could be done on a Google Doc and over a Zoom call kind of setting.
Yeah, a couple of things I think that to know and want to kind of amplify something that Cody talked about is for breakout rooms, really being intentional about, do you want it to be 2 people in a breakout room, 10 people in a breakout room? Like, what does that look like? Understanding that pre-assigning breakout rooms does kind of get messed up if the people who you thought were going to be there are not there. So trying to assign breakouts in the meeting once you all are there and physically present in the Zoom call. And then also understanding that there are also other features like polls that you could maybe use in doing the history outline. You all could also launch Kahoot games, right, to make it a little bit more competitive or test people's knowledge or whatever it may be. So the breakouts are really nice because it allows you to do parent shares or group work. And it allows it to feel a little bit more like you're in person and it's not just a big, huge group of people, but understanding there are some other features that you can also use in Zoom as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Christina. So moving on to the Brotherhood building activities, the Brotherhood building activities we recommend are done, each activity done once per academic term or twice in an academic year. Some of these activities include, or what we recommend, are the ZBT game day, progressive dinner, to be a ZBT, ZB Teams course, and a community connection. So some of those, specifically like the Teams course, community connection, are, when you initially think about it, you might think are a little bit hard to do virtually, but we've kind of laid out some ideas of different activities that can be done to fulfill the requirements of these activities in a virtual space. So for ZBT game day, you can do a virtual trivia or Jeopardy. Those are pretty easy to set up online via various platforms. If you need any help with anything like that, feel free to reach out to your staff liaison as well. We're happy to help out. For progressive dinner, you can share a meal together via Zoom. If your chapter, I've heard of one chapter, think about getting, like gift cards for a restaurant or something like that they gave out to brothers that they could go buy a meal that they could then share together. That's an idea that could be done if your chapter is able to. If not, you could just set a meeting around dinner time and just share a meal together as brothers and to kind of fulfill that progressive dinner activity. To be a ZBT done virtually, you could do a virtual pass the candle. This could be done by just, you wouldn't actually be physically passing a candle, but you could just kind of pass off the speaking abilities within a Zoom call or something like that, or whatever platform you're utilizing. For a ZBT Teams course, this is something that I thought a little bit about. I think the virtual escape room is a good idea for ZB Teams course. There's a lot of different resources or I guess I should say platforms to kind of do these virtual escape rooms where you can kind of set up groups within your chapter and do a virtual escape room kind of together. For community connection, you can do virtual volunteering. I am working with a chapter now that is doing a virtual tutoring of kids in the area around their campus, basically just hopping on a Zoom call, doing math tutoring, reading with them, keeping that same kind of connection to the community, but just over a virtual space. Also, kind of just if, to get out of the kind of virtual space, you're also able to just, go out in your community and pick up trash as well, or, community beautification, anything like that would be a great way to fulfill that kind of community connection. So groups within the Brotherhood building activities should be mixed across all classes and years. This should be something that all brothers attend. Obviously, no alcohol should be present within this in a physical space, but also in a virtual space as well.
I I think one of the things to think about for doing this virtually, or if there are some things that you could do in person. So if there are things that you can do in person that are spread out, safe, able to wear masks, able to be, physically distanced, that is okay. All we care about is that you're following your campus, local, and state mandates around gatherings. I think one of the other really important pieces, right, is to think about, instead of saying, okay, all 50 of our guys or all 20 of our guys are going to get together and do this one thing, maybe you say, okay, 5 of us are going to get together, and then these 5 are going to get together, right? And then we're all going to be together, being safe again as well. And we're going to do these things. And maybe it becomes, there's a virtual component, but there are pods of you that are together. And so really thinking about how you can be a little bit more creative in the virtual space, or doing things in person that are safe. And of course, as I've already said a million times, follow the guidelines of where you are in the country. So.
Definitely. Thank you, Christina. And yeah, I mean, some of these ideas, they are just that, some ideas. If you want to talk through more ideas with your staff liaison, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to kind of talk through ideas or share ideas that we've heard as well from other chapters. So, always think through, different things, and let us know what you think as well. All right. Well, moving on to the next component of the Big Brother mentoring program. So this should occur early on following initiation. The program is meant to focus on mentoring bigs and little, or the program is a focus on mentoring between bigs and littles, and bigs and littles should attempt to meet bi-weekly. So some of the key components of the Brotherhood Mentor or Big Brother mentoring program are that the Big Brother submits an application, and that these applications are reviewed as far as matching bigs and littles together. The matching kind of program shouldn't really be done based off of kind of superficial likes or dislikes, or if you're from the same area, or you play the same sports. It really should be kind of focused on kind of a deeper level, whether that's career interest, a similar major, or something like that. It's a little bit goes beyond just the big likes the little, or something like that. Another key component with the Big Brother Big Brother mentoring program is that it includes a training session and an expectations agreement. So prior to the Big Brother ritual, reveal ritual, you're going to meet with all the Big Brothers and go through set expectations, talk through what is expected of a Big Brother, how often should you meet, what does a healthy relationship look like between a big and a little. Those are all things that should be discussed within the training session, and those expectations should be reviewed regularly. We always like to we always say that expectations should be reviewed every term. I think that goes very well with the Big Brother mentoring program, that you should touch back in with every big brother and make sure that they're upholding those expectations. So the Big Brother ritual is where bigs and littles are introduced. So this is something that this can be done virtually. If your chapter is able to do it in person, like Christina said earlier, that's awesome. That's great. Just as long as you are following the rules, doing it within the regulations, wear masks, just making sure that you're being safe with it. If it within the Gold Book and everything like that, this is something that, similarly to initiation, can be done virtually. So if you're unable to do it in person, it is possible to do it over a video call as well. You can kind of pair you can pair people in breakout rooms to kind of put them in groups together to do that reveal virtually, or you can if you are able to do in-person meetups as well between those bigs and littles, that is possible as well. Christina, you have anything to add?
Yeah, a couple of helpful tips for the Big Brother training session. It does not have to be some long drawn out thing. You could be at a chapter meeting and say, hey, everybody who's going to be a Big Brother, stay after for 15 minutes. Let's go quickly through like what the expectations are, reiterating situations around hazing, ZBT being non-pledging, like what that looks like, into Cody's really specific words, which I love, which is what does a healthy relationship look like, right, between a big and a little. So really being thoughtful that like this doesn't have to be some long drawn out thing for you to like mark it off the list that you completed it. And then the second thing is pro tip for breakout rooms and doing the big little reveal virtually is you can put every single person in a breakout room, right? Like all the bigs, I mean, in a breakout, and then individually put the new guys in their individual breakout rooms, and then literally pop their big into their room if you're looking for like a surprise or a wow factor. So that is an option too. It doesn't have to be just like, oh yeah, we're just going to put you all in these two rooms and hopefully it's exciting. I mean, you could hype it up a little bit, right? So having all the new guys in their own individual rooms, putting all the bigs in a room together, and then individually, or I guess manually moving them into their rooms with their littles. So there are options. And again, as Cody said, if you want to talk through it or you need us to walk you through the logistics, we are happy to do so.
Definitely, thank you. One other point that I forgot to mention as well, with the application specifically, I know it's written out there, but those can be submitted and viewed via an online portal, like Google Forms or something like that, and that could even be utilized when you're in person as well. But just wanted to run through that also. Awesome. Well, moving on to the Brotherhood Retreat. The Brotherhood Retreat is something that that we recommend all chapters do at least once a year. Some of these sections, some of the main, required sections and content within the Brotherhood Review include just the chapter check-in, ZBT past, present, future, heart, hand, and minds, ZBT knowledge bowl, and obviously reviewing ZBT songs. Now these can be, the Brotherhood Retreat can be done virtually. I think, it might look a little bit different for every chapter, and obviously, trying to do, cover all that content within one day, over a virtual video call or something like that might sound a little bit tricky, and we understand that, and we don't necessarily recommend to just, try to do it all in one day. I think this is something that could be split up over time, whether it's done over a few days in a weekend, or over the span of a week or something like that. It is something that can kind of be split up, where you could kind of pair each section with something fun, whether that be, a meal, or breaking for video games, something like an online poker thing. I've seen chapters, kind of, they enjoy doing that. You can kind of pair those sections with an activity that makes it fun, that, that you guys are able to enjoy. So yeah, I think there's a variety of different ways in which you can do it, and I think the sky's the limit as far as how what you want it to look like. So if as we've said in the past, if you want to talk through ideas or see logistically how something might work, just reach out to us and we'd be happy to talk through it. All right, so moving on into the core and elective experiences. So this is a huge part in the journey. This is probably the heart, I think, of what the journey is meant to be. So to kind of briefly explain it, every brother is meant to complete 2 elective experiences per academic term. Those elective experiences, range from about an hour each. You're expected to complete 1 core experience per academic term, and the time restraint on that is kind of like a bigger program meant to be kind of ongoing over multiple weeks, more of an experience. So core and elective experiences are based on the 6 precepts. Examples of these can be found in the jury audit, and we're going to go through a few of them in the next slide. But it's based on core, justice, charity, or I'm sorry, justice, charity, service, truth, wisdom, and brotherhood. So we're gonna kind of walk through some of these examples and kind of explain how we can kind of do this in a virtual setting. But this is really, the heart and kind of, really important part to us right now. This is really where chapters are going to be able to provide value for their brothers. Obviously we're in a time where we are unable to do, a lot of things in person. This is where the fraternity can give back to the brothers and provide value outside of that, personal, physical kind of in-person connection.
A really quick note on this, I think, is we call them core and elective experiences, but a lot of these are things that your guys are already doing. And so what a good opportunity for them to get this through ZBT rather than having to go to some other student organization or some other space to get this kind of information and content. And so really, part of the reason why we do this is so you're not just coming up with programming that like you as the programming director or as an exec member think is cool. You have real hard data that says, okay, most of our guys want to hear about leadership, or most of our guys want to hear about investment banking, or most of our guys want to hear about how to do their taxes, or whatever you want to talk about, right? But that you are serving your members well. And then I think the other really nice thing about the core and elective experiences is this can be used to sell the organization during recruitment. I cannot stress that enough, that this new generation of college students really wants to know what's in it for me. What am I getting for my money? And this is a really good opportunity to say, look at all this stuff that we've done. And here's how we do it. And this is the mechanism that helps us drive this work. And to be able to really, again, have hard data for people to say, let me tell the ZBT story and sell you kind of on this experience. And so I think this is where your skills are coming from. This is how ZBT is preparing you for post-college life. Because a lot of times when we're in exec positions or leadership positions, it's like, okay, got my skills for, life and I'm learning things. But what about your general members? And this is a way to give back to general members who don't eventually end up in leadership.
Definitely. Thank you, Christina. We're going to go through some a little bit more in-depth examples of what core and elective experiences might look like. But so for the different categories, obviously between justice, charity, service, truth, wisdom, and brotherhood, we have for elective experiences are kind of listed on the top. Core experiences are listed on the bottom. For inclusion, you could participate in a campus cultural event or join a cultural social justice organization on campus. These are something, as a chapter, you can set up opportunities to, provide resources and opportunities to join different organizations within your campus that would kind of fulfill these elective experiences. For civic engagement, you could create a group of, you could create a service group activity for the local community. Chapter, I think in the past has done, local beautification of their community, and that's a definite way to, fulfill those kind of civic engagement experiences. For leadership development, you could take a course or attend a workshop in leadership, plan and organize an event. I think providing these opportunities to brothers outside of the fraternity is really important. So these are obviously things to kind of think about involving in your programming. For career development, you can interview alumni mentors within your chosen field, or attend workshops, advanced study, that advance your skills, personal development, attend a health and well-being workshop, interpersonal development, attend conflict resolution sessions, workshops on dating and healthy relationships, or serve as a mediator or peer counselor. So those, I hope, kind of give examples of what elective experiences are. Now, obviously, I think everybody has everybody in the chapter, everybody within the Brotherhood kind of has done a lot of those things already. Now, to Christina's point, what it's really important right now, I think, for the fraternity to kind of provide these opportunities for our brothers during a time when we don't have that kind of, when everybody might be, stuck at home or in their apartments, or, kind of not being able to go out as much. This is the opportunity to for the fraternity to provide for the brothers, and to give them these experiences, even during, a time when we're all kind of stuck at home. For core experiences, these are a little bit bigger, bigger in a time commitment, bigger in, I think, impact as well. For justice, an example of a core experience would be complete an extended immersive experience in a different culture. The example I always use for that is studying abroad. That's obviously not something we can do right now, but when we're back in person, that is something that would kind of fulfill that core experience. For charity, you could complete extensive hands-on service in support of a cause, in support of a charitable cause, or I think one example I've used for that is building a house for a community that might be underprivileged, and giving back in that type of sense. For service, complete a full term in a formal leadership role. That could be inside inside of an organization like ZBT, or outside of ZBT. For truth, you could complete advanced academic work, such as a research project, internship, or assistantship. For wisdom, you could complete significant learning, participation, or advocacy project to explore Jewish heritage. For brotherhood, you could work with a mentor for an entire academic term, or serve as a mentor for an entire academic term. So obviously those are a little bit bigger than the elective experiences in both time and impact. But those are all things that we expect that the fraternity will be able to provide opportunities for brothers to get involved in those kind of experiences. But also, it's important to kind of track these experiences as well. And that's kind of how we're going to get into the next component of the journey, and kind of tie it all in together. Christina, do you have anything else to add?
The only thing that I would say is that, some of the things that are on this might be cost prohibitive. Prohibitive. Wow, it's a hard word. So thinking about how can either the chapter help the members financially supplement to be able to do some of these things, or how can you find things that genuinely really don't cost a thing, or actually give money back to the individual. So maybe, for the justice of completing an extended immersive experience in a different culture, Cody gave the option of studying abroad, as many of our brothers do, but you also may do an internship in your campus's cultural center, if there is one of those on the campus. If you're a non-Jewish brother and maybe you want to take up an internship with the Hillel or Chabad, or whatever that may look like, but thinking about how, especially with the core experiences, how we don't want to disenfranchise people, right, who might not have the financial ability to do some of these things. And then some people might say, well, I have to have a job, right? I have to have a job all the way through, the academic year. And how can you work with me on that? And so also being thoughtful about how can we work with people who legitimately, right, need to be working in order to be able to pay for school, to be able to pay for ZBT, potentially to care for family, or whatever that may look like. So working with people based on their lived experience and what they need is also really important too.
Awesome. Thank you, Christina. So moving on to the Milestone Workshop. To kind of briefly explain the Milestone Workshop, it's led by the provost, and some of the materials that you'll need are the self-assessment worksheet. Prior to starting, brothers are need to complete questions 1, 2, 4, and 5. I should have said this in the beginning. All of the journey resources, materials, and everything like that can be found on my ZBT So just to kind of throw that in there, we'll talk about it again at the end. But all of these materials can be found on the MyZBT resource page with all the journey kind of resources in there as well. So getting back into the Milestone Workshop, it's 60 minutes once during the second half of the term, following initiation and prior to SBRB. It's focused on core and elective experiences. I think the key portion of the Milestone Workshop is the interactive coaching session to reflect on experiences and share what they learned within their personal development experiences. So when we kind of think about how we want to do this virtually, obviously we can have, we've used the breakout room example a lot, but I think that's kind of a perfect way to do those individual kind of coaching sessions in a virtual space and kind of regroup as a larger group to kind of discuss everything as a whole. But I do think, this is relatively kind of easy to kind of transition into a virtual, from doing it in person into a virtual space. And it is something that, as opposed to some of the other components, is a little bit easier. So kind of after the coaching session, brothers just basically revisit the self-assessment worksheet and complete the following questions 3 and 6 to kind of finish that worksheet out. Yeah.
So one of the things that I think is really important, because Cody, I appreciate that you brought us back to kind of the breakout room concept, because sometimes if you're leading this, you might be like, oh, I don't know what they're doing in those breakout sessions. They could be acting like idiots or having some silly conversation or not on topic. So a really helpful thing to do when you're in breakouts is to, one, if you go to the breakout screen, you will see the ability to project a message into the breakout. So you can project a message to remind them what they're supposed to be talking about, give them time countdowns. You only have 2 minutes left or whatever that may look like. But then 2, telling them, like, when you come out of the breakouts, you're going to have to unmute and share what you talked about, or you're going to have to drop in the chat, what you talked about. So setting some like specific goals for them so they feel more enticed or incentivized to say, okay, then maybe we need to actually have an answer. So we're not the ones who are like, oh, we didn't talk about anything. So I think, again, to Cody's comment earlier about expectations, like set the expectations and then hold people accountable who aren't meeting those expectations, especially when you're trying to be serious and actually, manage some of these programs. So.
Thank you, Christina. Yeah, I think I think we appreciate that kind of in-depth kind of look into the technical kind of side of the Zoom kind of breakout rooms and everything like that. To move on kind of into the next component of the journey, we have the educational programs. Now, educational programs are put on, executed by the programming director in conjunction with the rest of the chapter, and our educational programs are informed by discussions that are in the Milestone Workshop about what the chapter would like to see in programming from the fraternity. What would be beneficial to the chapter, what would be beneficial to the brothers, what are the brothers interested in. Those are all questions to ask when kind of formulating these educational programs. So our kind of recommendation is that you have 3 educational programs per term or 6 per year. If you want to split it out, for a quarter school, it might be two programs a quarter to kind of hit that 6 per year mark. As I said, programs should be based on the core and elective experiences chosen by brothers and kind of the topics and discussions from the Milestone Workshop. So programs can be based on the various topics kind of discussed within the core and elective experiences of, kind of involving civic engagement, leadership development, personal development, interpersonal development as well. Now these are, I think the educational program portion of the journey is probably is kind of better, I think, in the virtual setting, that I think you have the opportunity to do more with these educational programs via, via this kind of virtual space. You can invite facilitators that you might not be able to get, brought into your chapter to kind of lead a virtual program over a virtual space, whereas, it'll be easier to get them in a virtual space than it would be in person. So I think it's, the sky really is the limit when it comes to these virtual educational programs. So it is really something that, something cool, I think that, you all can think about of like what you want it to look like. You can, we always recommend, reaching out to your campus professionals to kind of see if they'd be able to lead some programs. You can reach out to us as well to see if, if we can help out with programs. There's also various different groups, external groups that could lead programs based on, whatever it may be, whatever the chapter is really interested in. You can kind of set up a program for that. So, yeah.
A couple of things on this. So I appreciate what you said, Cody, about like you can have presenters from all over. And so I actually just did a program a couple of Sundays ago for a chapter that typically it would have been like, hey, can you fly out here to do this program? And it literally cost us nothing, cost them nothing. And we were able to do a program on the current like civil unrest going on in our country because they just wanted to learn more. So there are really cool opportunities to do some of those programs in a quicker way. Nobody has to leave their home. Some people don't even leave their bed, right? Like you can just be there and like learn together. If you are worried about putting on a virtual program or need support, you go to ZBT's YouTube channel. There is a program, you will see my face again, on how to do virtual programming that will walk you through a lot of the logistics of doing a program in the virtual space, especially for education. To Cody's point about like, there's lots of people that you could reach out to. You could reach out to professors on your campus. You could reach out to your fraternity and sorority advisors, the health and wellness spaces on your campus. You could reach out to your athletics department if a lot of your guys like sports and you all want to learn more about whatever, right? And then also remembering that you've got your community folks as well, right? So what resources are there in the community that you can also tap into as well?
Definitely. Thank you, Christina. So moving into the last component of the journey, if I can get the computer to go, there we go, is the senior and alumni panels. So this is another kind of easy thing to do to kind of switch into this virtual space, but to kind of briefly explain it, senior alumni panels should be done multiple times a year. They could be done supplemental to a chapter meeting with one panelist just kind of talking after a chapter meeting or something like that, or a full-on, panel with multiple panelists, 60 to 90 minutes long. So it's kind of up to you, the discretion of the chapter as far as what it might look like. Senior and alumni can share their lessons learned through the journey, answer questions about ZBT, their experience in ZBT, and also, their own experience outside of their college or university as well. The VDD is kind of tasked with planning these and moderating them if he wishes to do so. You can prepare questions prior, and obviously open it up to the chapter for questions as well. Like I said, these can be quickly or easily moved to a Zoom call. And like with the educational programs, if it's done in a virtual space, it's easier for more alumni to get involved as well. People that you might not be able to get to come to a chapter meeting, you might be able to get to hop on a video call. So your outreach is kind of a little bit easier. But yeah. So moving into just kind of the conclusion of everything from tonight. Obviously, a lot of the components can be simply pivoted to execute the journey virtually. The educational programs, the senior and alumni panels, and I think those are a little bit better done virtually than they might have even been in person. But some of the other components are a little bit harder to kind of tweak and get done virtually. But obviously, any questions that you might have or about how to do, how how to do anything virtually. Hopefully some of those questions might have been answered tonight, but if not, feel free to reach out to us at headquarters, and we can kind of talk through anything as well. One of the things that I wanted to kind of point out and draw attention to is that the journey is required within the standards of excellence kind of requirements. It's not just, I think in the past it was just that, the chapter was kind of trying to implement the journey. It's not the case this year. Each component is individually required within the journey or within the standards of excellence. So it's important that the chapter takes an active steps towards making sure that each of these components are happening. Yeah, Christina, did you have anything else to add on that?
No, I think the standards of excellence thing is a very important part. And again, if you are not aware of the changes in the standards of excellence program, ZBT YouTube channel, you will find a video there. We are also doing the program again live for folks who want to jump in and ask questions at the end of the month. So head over to the ZBT website under ZBT from home and you can register there. Again, we are here to help. If there's anything else that you all need, please just let us know. Anything else, Cody, that we need to talk about?
Sorry, I was on mute. No, I think we're all good.
Okay, thank you all.